All right, here we go. I've already tried to do this a couple of times, getting kind of frustrated with the technology, but here we go, one more try. With this right here, to do the possible zeros, you do the factors of the last number divided by the factors of the first number. And if the first numbers are 1, you don't need to worry about it. It's just the factors of 3. So it'll be plus or minus 1, plus or minus 3. All right, so I'm going to try either positive 1, negative 1, positive 3, or negative 3 until I find one that works. It turns out that negative 3 works. I just know that because I've done this problem before. And multiply it out. 1 times negative 3, be 15, 1, negative 3, and it works out nicely. So one of the actual zeros is negative 3. So now I need to use this x squared minus 5x plus 1, set it equal to 0, and solve that quadratic. Now because that won't factor, because I don't know two things that multiply to give me 1 that add to give me negative 5, I'm going to have to do the quadratic formula, which is plus or negative b, that'd be a positive 5, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. Okay? So clean that up. That's 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 minus 4 over 2. And 25 minus 4 is the square root of 21, which I can't do anything with the square root of 21. So those are my other two answers. One of them is negative 3. That's how I find there. The other two are right here. 5 plus or minus square root of 21 over 2. Those are my 3 zeros for this function. If it doesn't factor, it doesn't mean you don't do anything with it. It just means you've got to do the quadratic formula or completing the square or something like that to get that done. The next type of problem, this is different because it's got an x to the 4th on it. The possible zeros, I'm going to have to use the factors of 12, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 12, or those negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 6, and negative 12. So there's lots of answers I could try on this. But remember, I'm looking for 4 different roots. All right? So for this problem, I'm going to start off with a negative 1. Bring down those numbers, 1, 4, negative 1, negative 16, and negative 12. Drop the 1. 1 times negative 1 and add. 3 times negative 1 is a negative 3 and add. Keep going with this, and you do get zeros remainder. So one of your zeros is that negative 1 that you just found. To find your others, you're going to use this answer. But remember, that was x to the 4th, so this is x to the 3rd plus 3x squared minus 4x minus 12. And I don't know how to factor that because that's not a quadratic, so I'm going to have to use synthetic division again with those numbers and start guessing other numbers. Okay? So another number that does work is a positive 2. So do synthetic division with that. That's going to be 2, 5, 10, 6, 12, 0. Works out nicely. So 2 is another one of my zeros. To find the other zeros, I'm going to use, that was x to the 3rd. This is x squared plus 5x plus 6. Set it equal to 0 and solve. That factors nicely to be x plus 2 and x plus 3. So my other two zeros are negative 2 and negative 3. These are my 4 zeros for this function. The same thing would happen if it was x to the 5th. You would just do it one time to get down to x to the 4th. You do it again to get it to x to the 3rd. You keep on going until you get it down to a quadratic that you know how to either factor or do the quadratic formula for on these problems. So the last example we're going to look at right here, number 7. Last example, again, is a x to the 4th. But this one turns out very nicely because what we're doing with this, even though we haven't been actually writing it this way, is we are factoring these polynomials. And we're factoring out, like on the last one when we took out a negative 1 first, we're factoring out an x plus 1. We just didn't write x plus 1 times that answer that was left over. But that's what it is. So on this problem, I can actually factor this right off the bat without even synthetic division because they all have a GCF of x. And it leaves me 6x to the 4th plus 7x to the 3rd minus, 6x to the 3rd, 7x squared minus x minus 2, because I'm factoring out the x there. That means one of my zeros is the number 0, because that's what will make that term right there 0. Now I just need to do synthetic division using this 6, 7, -1, and -2. Okay, so I just got to come up with some numbers that are going to work nicely there. Now before we move on, if I'm going to write possible zeros for this one's the one that's really kind of a neat little examples to look at, because you got to do the factors of 2 divided by the factors of 6. The factors of 2 are 1 and 2. The factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. So the possible zeros are going to be 1 over each one of those, and then 2 over each one of those. Your possible zeros are 1 over 1, 1 over 2, 3 over 2, and, excuse me, oh, I'm writing that wrong. 1 over 1, 1 over 2, 1 over 3, and 1 over 6. Then 2 over 1, 2 over 2 is the same thing as 1, 2 over 3, and 2 over 6 reduces to be 1/3 also. And then you'd go through and put a plus or minus in front of each one of these. That's your list of possible zeros. That's kind of messed up right there. If you're doing those, it is always 1 over the factors of the back number divided by the factors of the front number. So you put the 1 and the 2, the 1 over each one of those, and then the 2 over each one of those, and then put a plus or minus in front of each one of those. Okay, so if they ask you for possible zeros, that's how you do that. But let's get back to this problem. If you're going to do this, I know that -1 is a nice clean number that works out. Drop the 6. 6 times -1 is -6. 1 times that is -1, gives you -2. -2 times that is a +2, you get a 0. That was x to the third, so this is in front of x squared. Set it equal to 0. And if you do your circle, slide, divide stuff correctly, you should be able to factor this to be something like that. So your other two zeros are going to look like that. So we got -1 to be 1 using synthetic division, and factoring we got -2/3 and +1/2. These are the actual zeros right here. And notice -2/3 on my list of possible zeros, -2/3 is on that list, so is a +1/2 right there. There are other numbers up here that were possible, they just didn't work out. These are the ones that actually did work out, those 4 right there. Okay? So I'm hoping you understand this. If you have any questions, please let me know. Very easy assignment this week. You've got 1 through 11 on page 401. You'll be emailing that stuff to me as well. Okay? Good luck on the quiz.